Welcome back, Paul Catalina and Royden Ogletree here on the Triple Option. Royden, is this your first day on the new? Were you still in Spain, or you were back last week?
I was back last week.
So you were here to debut the new channel, and now we're a week into the new channel. Have you actually subscribed to the new channel?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you need to subscribe to the new channel. There might be opportunities for you to do things without me on this channel.
Yeah, I will do that as soon as we leave here. In fact, I'll do that right now. How about that?
Yeah, please do that right now.
How about that? It's so easy.
Show everyone how easy it is to do.
It's so easy if I can find the YouTube app, if it will load. And then, it's called the Triple Option with Paul Catalina.
Yeah, which there are, now we found out 2 other Triple Option podcasts. Yep. One of them are seemingly nice guys, but they don't have as many subs as me.
Okay, well, the first one that comes up.
Yeah, I know what it is. I know what it is.
It's not you.
It's not
Those
me.
damn algorithms.
Yeah.
Well, this may not be as easy as I thought it was, Paul.
Yeah. Which is why we sue.
In fact, it's just throwing up video. Where is the channel?
Would you like me to just send you the link? Would that help?
Sure. Let me type in with Paul Catalina. This is great radio.
Yeah. Okay.
C-A-T. In fact, it's just showing a bunch of old video. Actually, here we go.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah. Let's go. If YouTube would load. This is so easy a caveman could do it.
Except Royden, sub-caveman. Sub-caveman.
Here we
so
go.
Please.
Subscribe.
There we go. He's on the channel, folks. He's on it. So, again, if you can open like a second browser window, I have them both open, so I can chat on either channel. So I certainly appreciate it.
Already 1,000 subscribers.
There we go. Well, there's actually 12,000.
Wait, what?
Yeah. There's 12,000, 1,000, 2,000, 12,500 subscribers currently. And
really?
one more just now.
And one more.
Yeah.
That'll put us over the top.
Do you have no idea what your one view will do?
Oh, 12,000, 1,000 videos.
Okay, yes.
My bad.
So there we go. But yeah, so one of these sponsors here.
Oh, yeah.
Like Masculine, which is owned, by the way, by Oscar De La Hoya. So, fun fact. Or Alliance Bank Central Texas.
Yes.
Like all those. I'm not sure that one showing up as well. Might be washing out a little bit. But, which means I've got to give it a different color in the background. But anyhow, CFP rankings tonight.
Yes.
What do you expect? Do you expect that there will be – I don't really. I don't know if anybody has a huge case of being mad about being left out.
Yet.
I think Iowa State will not be in the top 12. BYU will be, and Boise State will be.
You don't think Iowa State will be in the top 12 as the second Big Ten team?
Big 12 team? No, I don't think they will.
Oh, Iowa State. I was thinking Ohio State. Sorry.
I don't think they will. I think that for the ACC and the Big 12, they will not do them the courtesy of letting them think they will get a second team in unless they fight their way into it, which is undefeated team in the championship game loses to a one-loss team, and then they're both in.
Yeah. Iowa State did themselves a huge disservice this weekend, losing that game.
Well, and the thing is that the Big 12 teams don't get the mulligan that the SEC teams do. Mm-hmm. A&M has 2 losses. If A&M wins out, they're in the playoff no matter what. If Iowa State loses one more time and then wins out, doesn't lose again until the championship game, and they're also 11-2, they're out, and A&M is in. It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, unfortunately for the Big 12, it will just be – BYU deserves to be there. It will just probably be BYU. Recency bias plays into all of these things harder than, it probably should. I'm interested to see how they try to go with this 12-team format and who they try to justify. The biggest question to me going in is where they're going to put Indiana, who's undefeated right now, in contention with Penn State and, the other one-loss Big Ten teams. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to upset a lot of Indiana alum when they're, 10th or something like that. But I don't know. What do you think?
I think right now we're going to see a lot of SEC and Big Ten teams.
Yeah.
I think you'll see Miami in the ACC and no one else, even though SMU has a case for the top 12. I mean, look, SMU's only loss is to a team that's going to be in the top 12. There are teams that are going to be within that top 12 whose losses are to teams outside the top 12 who will not be punished the same way that SMU will.
Yep.
That's where this gets complicated, is that, I'm trying to I'm going to look at the what I think the rankings will be right now, and I'll tell you.
Well, it's tough because we've had this debate of, this 12-team format will allow us to not leave, deserving teams out. The problem is it's going to do exactly that.
So the teams in particular I'm talking about, first of all, Alabama at 11 in both polls is a joke and a half. It is an absolute joke and a half. They could have at least one more loss, if not two, on their schedule. It's a joke and a half that Alabama's 11. Saban's not there anymore, guys. He's not there. You don't have to vote him close to the top so that you don't somehow anger the football gods. Mm-hmm. I don't know what is happening there. But the ones I'm talking about, particularly in the top 12, especially if Bama's in the top 12, which it should not be, which I think Alabama gets bumped out because you got to put Boise State in there because they are an actual playoff team.
Right.
Although I would not be surprised to see Boise State out of it, and they'll be like, well, they'll be in the top 12 at the end, but they're not yet. And they'll have that.
Well, when we see this actually matters going forward because it determines these are the rankings that people start using on every broadcast, on every metric, on everything else.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, this team beat this team was ranked inside this metric, and this team was here, and this team was here, and to not put somebody that deserves to be in that hunt is you're doing them a disservice later on down the road.
I think these should be the first rankings that we actually do have. Like AP poll and coaches poll out. Like I don't.
Well, I've said that before too. It's like the preseason rankings are nonsensical because it doesn't take into account any sort of matchup. It's all based on vibes. It's all based on like, oh, we've studied this team and who they're bringing back and the camps and everything else and what media in those towns are saying about this and so on and so forth. Went and visited this school for a practice and he says that they look really good, and then the AP sort of ranks in that, and you're never going to get rid of the AP poll. Writers would riot. They'd have a fit about it. Probably for good reason, but I'm just saying it makes no sense. Like the first poll should be after you play, maybe not this deep into the season, but after you play 5 games,
2 to 3
4
weeks
games.
at least.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. Iowa State lost to Texas Tech. Iowa State is ranked one spot behind Ole Miss with one less loss. Tell me what the differences are between Kentucky and Tech as far as skill goes. I'll tell you what it is. Kentucky's way worse. I mean, like, this is the SEC bias that is baked into everything that goes on. And the two teams I'm talking about that will be in the top 12 over Iowa State are Tennessee, who lost to Arkansas. What's the difference between Arkansas and Texas Tech? Arkansas is just as bad. They're the same. Like, actually, I could even make the argument that Arkansas is a little bit worse. Okay? Look, Tech has been blown out like that.
Well, Arkansas has that horrible loss to Oklahoma State, too, given how they're terrible.
Yes.
They're not good.
But look, they've maybe saved their coach's job because they're better than they were.
They saved Pittman's job.
But they're still not good, all right? Notre Dame will be ahead of Iowa State. Iowa State's won losses to Texas Tech. I keep saying this. Notre Dame's won losses to Northern Illinois. What's the difference between Northern Illinois and Texas Tech? Northern Illinois is worse. Why?
There's still weird name brand recognition put on. And I mean, like Ole Miss, I don't even know if that's name brand recognition in college football, other than the fact that they play for the mighty SEC. But there's still like this. I remember when I remember when Notre Dame won 87 national championships in 1957, and everybody.
Yeah.
There's still that weird like baked in stuff. And I don't know how you solve it. You may never. That feels a little defeatist, but I think we're never going to get over this. It's almost like go back to computer algorithms for this again. Like we just need to bring back the BCS, which was inherently flawed. But
I think the BCS, and they have computer rankings, but
yeah,
the BCS should be part, like a BCS type ranking should be part of it.
Should have a weight to it.
There should be weight to it because I think you need to take.
It takes out some inherent bias from.
I think you've got to take as much out of it. I think where the humans need to come in is when you look at the computers. And have you ever tried to like make audio on AI or anything like that?
I have stayed as far away from AI as I probably could have.
Good. I've recently had to do it for a couple things because I needed a voice actor that I did not know existed.
Yeah.
So I was able to do that. And then I tried making some video with it yesterday. And
it's uncanny valley. It doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Work.
So like you get these things. So we have a client called Airwave that is like a mouthpiece for fitness, so you wear it while you're working out and helps you breathe. And so I was trying to, they don't have a video spot and they haven't sent me one. I said, well, let me see what this little machine I have does. It's the same software I used to do the ads, on the screen. So I thought, what the heck? Let me see if we can't do something there, right? And I put it in and like you cannot, when they do it without even your script or anything, you can't like they're like Airwall, like
you
they
can't
have
run
those
it,
things.
Yeah.
That's where the humans need to come in when it comes to me to the rankings of the computer for whatever reason really likes this 3-loss team.
Yeah, exactly.
We are not going to put this team in over this team because the computer has these. We have to get through a couple of these weighted metrics that we put in because they help everything else. But this is the fly in the ointment. Let's make sure that that's out.
Yeah.
And so, we're not going to put that team in. Look, if they're going to apply we'll call it the Jordan Travis standard to everything now, if you get down to that, like now it's not, 4 and 5, it's, 12 and 13. If number 13 or number 12's quarterback broke his leg and you don't think they're going to do well in the playoff, then number 13 goes in.
Yeah.
I have a feeling, though, Garrett, that's the only time we're going to see that applied.
More than likely. I didn't even know that was a rule, but it was something we learned
Well, it was
this
in
week.
that, Dave Bartu was on this last week, and he said, look, it's in the rules that you are supposed to take into consideration things like this, like the quarterback is out. I thought that meant, like, if they had lost a game and he'd been out for a couple of games, they had not lost, including the games that he was out. Like, they won those games in spite of him being out. That was where I got confused. I thought it was, okay, this team is 10-2, but the only 2 games they lost, they had to play a true freshman backup quarterback because their Heisman Trophy candidate was out with an ankle injury.
Yeah.
And then he came back and they won all the rest, and they won the conference title game by 30 points. Clearly one of the best teams in the country. We can't not have them in. That's not how the rule was applied. In fact, it was never applied until it was like, oh, no, he's out now. Yeah, but they won the games without him, but they won't win these games. How do you know?
the Jordan Travis standard. It's actually
the Jordan Travis standard.
It's actually a in letterhead on the on the rule book.
Yeah. And my hope is that somebody, I just want somebody else to get jobbed by that. So I'm like, well, it's the rule. I mean, we were just the first people who
just doing
had to
with the canary
experience
in the coal mine.
But if no one gets jobbed like it again, then I'll be like, well, that was, Bartu did say, they did do what the numbers have always said.
He said it.
And he's a numbers guy. And it put me a little bit more at ease. But bottom line is,
you're still mad.
I'm never going to not be mad about it.
Yeah.
I promise you, some of the last words on my deathbed will be, we should have been in 2023. That will be 2023. And then they're like, what, Grandpa? What? What about 2023? We should have just seen what happened. Just let it play out. Just see.
people really love to actually compete in big games, and a lot of people would have stayed around instead of preparing for the NFL draft.
Yeah.
He died doing what he loved. Jordan Travis actually probably, would have won the Heisman if he can. He's finally gone. And it's like, and then FSU decided to sue the ACC, and it ruined everything. Yeah. And then there was this guy who was going to eat dog shit, and he never really did it.
He didn't.
That'll be the one. Is like he never ate the dog shit. Beep. What if you asked to eat the dog shit to reset the curse? Toby, come here. You'll eat the dog shit, won't you? Sure, Dad. Please. Sure, I'll do it. Break the curse. Yeah. You're the only one. The inherent biases that come along with having people, are they still doing the committee as based on sort of conference representation as well too? But then the inherent biases come in as like, oh, this person went to so-and-so school, and there's some weird biases baked into there, and they're not supposed to be. But we all know from years of doing this, that's just simply not true. Yeah. And in fact, if I remember correctly, when this first started, there wasn't even a rule book on how this was supposed to take place. So we have years of doing this, one, with inherent biases baked into the people that choose the teams, two, years of standards set by a thing just picked out of thin air. Yeah. And so we're going based off of those standards. Now they finally may have, like you said, a standard set of rules and guidelines to what it's like Pirates of the Caribbean. It's more like guidelines instead of an actual law. But like, I think I don't know how you get rid of that. And I'm worried that what we will see is still what we have seen, but just in greater numbers. Yeah. Oh, well, now we get to include the Boise States of the world, and I'd have to look at all the other, teams that are doing it. But, like, to leave SMU out, I have a bad feeling they're going to job Indiana somehow, even if it's just ranking them lower than, say, Penn State or what have you. Yeah. It is going to be nasty regardless of how you look at it, and then it's still going to be like Georgia ranked number one, even though they have a terrible loss to Alabama, who you've said isn't that good anyway, and they've looked bad in several games. But yeah, it's going to be, and maybe it won't be, but I think it's going to be a bad look no matter how you slice it, because people are going to be like, well, this was supposed to solve all of our problems. I don't have that much faith in it.
It's weird to me how Alabama beat a Mizzou team that was 21st when they beat them without their quarterback, 34-0. And that win, again, if you put the Jordan Travis standard on it, it doesn't pass the smell test, right? They didn't have their quarterback. They couldn't win. So why are we, doing this?
Who was that? I'm sorry.
Mizzou.
Yeah.
Mizzou was out without their quarterback. Alabama beat them 34-0. And then everybody's like, oh, Alabama's back. No, they're not. They beat a bad team. Now, if Alabama goes and beats LSU this week, we can have this discussion fairly because LSU is a way better team than Mizzou is. But, let's be serious here. And then Alabama, after this week, has no chance to get a real quality win because it's Mercer, OU, and Auburn, all teams that are not good.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, they're getting a Saban bump sans Saban right now. But I think the top 12 will be Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State, Miami, and Ohio State only over Miami because their losses to Oregon. And Miami's schedule not great. Texas, Tennessee, then Penn State, then Indiana, BYU, Notre Dame, Boise State, and I think Alabama's going to make it in there, even though they absolutely shouldn't.
We're gonna besmirch the troops on here. We're gonna leave 8-0 Army out.
Yes, they will leave 8-0 Army out.
They're not respecting the troops.
Yeah, their genuine hope is that they don't have to make that call.
That Army will lose to Navy or something like that.
Well, and the thing is that Army loses to Navy, but Army's already in. because that game's after they select the playoff team.
Oh, right.
So they could theoretically, Army and Navy could still play twice, although Navy has taken some losses now, but Army still,
Put Army in there, you cowards.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see an Army and Indiana game. Like, why? It seems awesome.
Hey, you know what? Let's make it 1938 again and have a blast. They should not leave. Army and Indiana playing a playoff game. No face masks. No face
Leather
masks.
helmets.
Like shoulder pads that are barely pads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerseys that rip away.
Yeah. So
I tend to agree with you. I think Boise State will be in just because they have the Janty bump, if anything else, and it's good TV, to be completely honest with you. I think
they've got to put a G5 team in there.
Yeah, otherwise it's a bad look.
Otherwise they're just like, well, the G5 team will not be in the top 12, but we have to put them in based on the rules.
Right.
That's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't trust Penn State as far as I can throw them.
No.
So, you want to do your Penn State rant?
Yeah, here's what I did yesterday. So Penn State has wins over West Virginia, Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois, UCLA, USC, and Wisconsin. Okay? They won all those games before they lost to Ohio State. They have Washington, Purdue, Minnesota, who could beat them. Minnesota's actually pretty good. And Maryland on the way out. Even if they're 10-2, Penn State has a good chance of being in, and they have no schedule to speak of. Yet James Franklin's going to be able to, look, Penn State, no matter what happens, is going to fall ass backwards into this playoff. It's ridiculous.
Everybody kind of saw that coming at the beginning of the season.
Yes, and now we're seeing it play out, and the interesting thing will be to see can the committee stand up and go, no, this team is not that good. Like, let's not just give the Big Ten an extra half point on strength of schedule because their TV deal is better.
Yeah.
Let's rank these teams as the biggest things they need to do is they've got to rank these teams as they are, not as they have been. That's the biggest thing we have to get through. And Penn State will be the biggest beneficiary of that, of any team that will make the playoff, because Penn State's going to make the playoff and not deserve it one bit. And I hope they get beat by Boise State 38-7 in the first round.
Yeah, everybody saw this when they looked at their schedule and said, oh, well, they don't even have to beat Ohio State to get in. Would I rather see a one-loss Penn State get in over another two-loss SEC team? Kind of, maybe, just for old time's sake, when the SEC got the benefit of the doubt in the 4-team playoff over some other teams, especially in the Big 12. But if they lose another game, you mean to tell me that you're going to put a two-loss – say Iowa State wins out, they beat BYU in the championship game. They are both 11-1 going into the final ranking.
Yeah.
They would have to turn themselves into knots trying to figure out how to not put 2 one-loss Big 12 teams in over a 2-loss Big 10 team or a 2-loss SEC team. And I'm afraid that's going to happen. And we're already clutching our pearls in the first week of these rankings, but we've seen this song and dance before, and I am kind of worried about how this is shaken out with how it is currently. And maybe Oregon runs the table and just runs over everybody on their way to being the one true Big Ten team that everybody hangs their hat on, and Penn State falls off because of that. But I don't think they anticipated Michigan being as bad as they are and everything else. So now Penn State gets this sort of benefit from a couple of down teams and the addition of those West Coast teams into
only one of which is good.
Yeah, only one of which is good. So, I don't know. I don't have anything other than I think everybody kind of saw that coming.
Yeah, no, they did.
They looked at their schedule. They looked at how Penn State has performed every year, which is 10-2, and they're like, that may do it.
Yeah,
that's probably going to do it.
Yeah.
So
it's just nuts. It's just nuts to me. All right, before we go, Royden, today is also not only Election Day, it's the NFL trading deadline.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of news going on today.
Yeah.
Some consequential, some inconsequential. Obviously, NFL trading deadline, college football playoff rankings, consequential. Whatever happens.
Other stuff, whatever.
Who cares? The world will keep on spinning until it doesn't.
Again, we may not know who the next president is before the NFL slate on Sunday. So
Yeah. Or the NFL slate at the end of the year.
yeah,
Don't know.
to say?
Who's to say? Our system is silly. We are all waiting on 5 counties in Pennsylvania to tell us who our leader is.
Yep.
It's not right.
Love this how we set this up for ourselves.
And here's the thing, I'll tell you. If you're on either side of this argument, you have to agree. It's pretty stressful for 5 counties in Pennsylvania to be the ones that are where we don't know how people are going to vote.
Yeah, one household in Macon, Georgia.
When we could just, like, all raise our hand on one side or the
1, 2,
other.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That one.
Yeah, and then, okay, well, you had more hands raised.
Yep.
Like that. It's what other countries do, but, we're America and we do it better.
People are going to be very mad about Electoral College online.
If we can add a step, we do that.
We add a little bit more bureaucracy, just sprinkle it in.
Yeah. I once, when I was early on in my radio career, I had to install all these songs into our automation system for a country station we're doing. The guy who taught me how to do it had some of the worst OCD I've ever seen in my life. And so
Can relate.
you could hit F9, it would just go to the next song. But what he had to do was he had to go all the way back out to the menu every single time. That's how I feel about the Electoral College. You're just going all the way back out to the menu when you just go F9, move on to the next thing.
Starting from scratch.
All right, here we go again. 1 vote. 2 votes. All right, everybody back in their seats. Okay, bathroom break. 3 votes. Like, that's how I feel it goes. But anyhow, it is the NFL trade deadline. There are a couple of trades, some not a big deal. Steelers traded a 7th-round pick to the Packers for edge rusher Preston Smith.
Marshawn Lattimore just got
Marshawn
traded.
Lattimore just got traded to the Commanders, which is a really good deal.
Yeah, because their defense
huge position of need for
good.
them. Yes.
And also the Saints, they're starting to talk about it now. I think Nick Wright was the only one ringing the bell on this for like a year, is that the Saints were going to be in cap hell. Yeah. And all of a sudden they're 2-7 and everybody's like, well, their cap doesn't really make sense, does it? You can't pay Derek Carr that amount of money.
Yeah.
They've been like deferring contracts for like years. So now you may see a fire sale. I mean, Marshawn Lattimore is the, I keep saying the canary in the coal mine, but he is sort of the starting gun of them.
We'll see. They've
got
another couple hours before they can send some other people off. Mike Williams traded from the Jets to the Steelers.
Sure.
The Jets made him superfluous after they got Devontae Adams. And hold on, let's see. Zadarius Smith got traded as well, and
Did Jonathan Mingo get traded to the Cowboys?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'll help.
Zadarius Smith went to the Lions from the Browns, which is a huge pickup for them. The Cowboys made a trade today, trading a 4th-round pick for a guy they could have gotten for a 7th-round pick.
Mm-hmm. Who was a 3rd-round pick
was
on
a
his own.
2nd-round pick.
Oh, okay.
2nd-round pick last year. Mm-hmm. So that's how their math worked. Now, they really liked him in the draft process, just like they really liked Trey Lance. Well, Trey Lance is going to go. I like parts of this is where he's a developmental, like it's a long-term play here. It's not a rental, but Dak Prescott's on IR or going to be on IR. Cooper Rush is going to be the guy breaking him in. I get the trade. I don't get the compensation. Like that's where I'm not like, and Mingo hasn't been good for the Panthers.
Yeah.
All that withstanding with quarterbacks and all that stuff, he's still like one of the lowest ranked wide receivers in the league.
Yeah. Like Xavier Legette came in and like immediately supplanted him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So all that happened. They Deontay Johnson got traded. Nothing better last week happened for Mingo. He got traded again a week later. So the Jerry continues to Jerry. And here's the thing. Jerry Jones is the most Jerry Jones he's ever been. Sadly, he's not the most Jerry Jones he ever will be.
It's going to continue
to grow.
Larger Jerry Joneses coming in play?
Yes, like mushrooms. Just every time we kick over one Jerry, a bunch of others growing the bullshit.
Black mold.
Yes, it's just
Over under the amount of touchdowns that Jonathan Mingo scores, or the number of draft pick that you are sent for him. So fourth round draft pick. Will he have over or under 4 touchdowns?
he will have under 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, okay.
The Cowboys barely have over 4 touchdowns this season. I mean, and he's not a guy who came in. I think he might have a touchdown this year. And, every wide receiver in the league now gets like a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have one where it's like, this guy's in.
See
He
him
was
every
open
week.
on this
There's
play.
like 87 wide receivers. It's just like, well, this guy, who do I pick up in fantasy? Well, this guy had a breakout week. He'll score 3 points the next week.
Those are what we in Cowboys fandom call Miles Austins.
Oh, yeah.
And then we give them
Terrence Williams's.
Cowboys give Miles Austin a 5-year contract, and then he proceeds to destroy his hamstrings week after week after week because he had 200 yards against the Chiefs.
Hey, well, at least the Cowboys are doing something. The Texans decided to sit on their hands while their offensive line is literally the worst in the league.
They need to get 2 guards.
I understand that starting linemen aren't out there on the trade. Maybe you could trade for some of the Saints ones, but like they are out there on the trade market to be had usually if they're good enough. But then again, and Jarrett Patterson is coming back, and he was decidedly better than both Kendrick Green and Kenyon Green.
Yeah.
And so that'll hopefully
And
be
Kenyon Green's out now.
Kenyon Green's out.
So even if he were to maybe theoretically get better, it doesn't matter because he's out for the rest of the season.
So, but the problem is that now you have no depth there also. And it doesn't matter because your center and Shaq Mason isn't really that good either. So now your once generational quarterback has turned into Derek Carr all of a sudden, where he's overthrowing passes because he's afraid he's going to get buried in the dirt. I'm so sick of this team. I'm so mad. Like they're 6-3. I've never been more mad at a 6-3 Texans team.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. What do you mean you can't block for your generational quarterback? Give me a break. Unreal. And then you're not going to go trade for anybody. Nick Caserio, you've done a lot of really good moves over the offseason. And in fact, you got this team in a position where they were supposed to be. Protect the asset. He is the best quarterback that the Texans had ever even sniffed that isn't doing heinous crimes. Allegedly. But the idea that you're going to get him buried in the MetLife turf because you're still stuck that you wasted a first-round pick on Kenyon Green, who is awful, give me a break. And also, Bobby Slowick. I'm sorry I'm going on a rant. Bobby Slowick.
No, I'm here for it.
Bobby Slowick. Adjust your game plan. They're getting through in 2 seconds. Maybe throw a screen. Maybe throw a quick slant route. Maybe run away, roll out the coverage. No, we're going to have them do a 7-step drop and let these receivers that can't get open without Nico Collins run down the field. Unbelievable. That game on Thursday night was the most frustrating game I've ever seen in my entire life. Like the last Thursday night, or like the last game they played in MetLife against the Jets, where you let Zach Wilson destroy you. Incomparable. It is.
Emory, as a Texans fan, is this how you feel as well? Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
just like they're 6-3, and it's all fool's gold because you've had to have C.J. Stroud perform magic and pull you out of 3rd and longs all season. And now the chickens are starting to come home to roost because all of a sudden he doesn't have time to throw. He has less time to throw than David Carr had to throw. They ran him out of the league.
Yeah.
You cannot do that to the 2nd overall pick that led you to the playoffs last year in his rookie season. With the same offensive line, by the way, which I don't know how that happens.
Sometimes people digress.
I mean, genuinely. I'm so mad about that.
Or they get figured out. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Is that I'm not sure. Sometimes it's not the players, it's the scheme. The scheme gets figured out, and they're not ahead of it.
Yeah.
So Bobby Slowick and the offensive line coach and all that need to adjust that, which you said, not really happening right now.